What is up, everyone? What's good, y'all? It's your boy Elias here. I was gonna say part of plead the Sith. Now we're moving on from that. I decided to move on from the Sith persona, the whole Sith character, and try to bring some positivity to my life and put out, use the name, my God-given name, the name my parents gave me, which is Elias, or back home if y'all who are watching, Eli. Yeah, just decided to go a whole separate route. The roasting and all that stuff was pretty cool, but you know what I think we can do better beyond that. It doesn't always have to be just getting people on here trying to embarrass them or try and get a rise out of them. Let's share some positivity. I mean, we're gonna talk shit along the way, right? I mean, y'all, if you know me in the real world, you know how this is gonna go. But yeah, I'm just waiting to build the room. Before anything, I want to give a quick shout out to my sponsor, to our sponsors over here at Sweep the League, um, Grading the Market, our sponsors, the Chunky Flamingo Crew, and MCS General Contract. If you need that concrete work, y'all go ahead and hit up my boy Leha or MCS in general. If you want the best concrete work out there, Diamond Hard, baby. Let's see. Let's get to some of these comments. We got my boy, the man himself, Leha, leader of USOA, Susio's baby. He says, "Let's go." Got my cousin, my big brother, George in the mix. Shout out George. Shout out my boy Jacob Eric from Grading the Market. Y'all make sure to tune in every Saturday. Well, Saturday for the most part, around 1, to cover everything that's included in the hobby. Everything from cards to just sports talk in general. So we got the head honcho over here at Sweep the League. I'm here. El Guapo says Rudy Campos Jr. Y'all be on the lookout. He has a brand new show going on with Gervin with Derek Gervin on Sundays. I'll get the name right. Hit y'all up. Shout out Daniel Castro, Sam Salinas. Thank you for joining us. And let's see. Leia says he runs a show whenever he's not hungover. That's Jacob at that. It is what it is. My boy's here for a good time, not a long time. But yeah, here we go. I got the name of the show, The Sports Answer. Hosted by both Rudy Campos Jr. and Derek Gervin. I believe this past weekend they had the great Jeff Garcia from Ken's Five, lead writer for the Spurs over there. Locked on Spurs host Jeff Garcia. If y'all haven't checked that out, y'all go ahead and do so. I'll plug that in after the show. So yeah, be on the lookout. The Sports Answer. But all right, let's get down to the nitty gritty. Is that wanted to move on from the sports talk and whatnot, and just want to touch base on some stuff that we usually don't cover here on Sweep the League or in any loco San Antonio Spurs. Not that I'm loco, but yeah, just wanted to touch base on something different. And what a better subject than death, right? Being that we are in the whole Halloween spooky era. But that's the thing, y'all. That's what I want to talk to y'all about. Death doesn't necessarily have to be scary, or it doesn't always end up being a bad thing. Sometimes when you have someone suffering from a long-term illness or whatnot, that tends to bring them peace, and we'll get into that in a bit. And then on the flip side of the coin, we're gonna talk about life. I'm gonna give y'all my story about becoming a parent, becoming a father. The best thing in the world. I tell everyone. I said my little girl, she gives me life. So at one time, I thought I wasn't gonna live long, right? Live past 21, like they say. But man, having her gave me a new direction in life, and it's just great. I'd love to hear from y'all. Y'all go ahead and drop below if you pay some respects to those that you've lost, or if you want to show some love to your kids, or share any stories. Y'all go ahead and do so in the chat. The chat's welcome to everybody. Says Sam Salinas says respect for actually starting the show on time. Man, shout out my boy Joe Garcia and Mike Jimenez over at the Area 210 podcast. They run late sometimes, but they always give one hell of a show. So shout out to the boys over there. See, Sam said, yeah, I come to show with the heavy heart. Just found out a half hour ago that my high school buddy of mine passed away today. Prayers up for Bobby Ortiz. Knew him from childhood. Just want to give you my condolences real quick, Sam. I know losing someone you grew up with it's earth shattering, right? Especially it's one of your best friends. I haven't experienced that. Yes, I got off the phone with my with one of my best friends maybe an hour ago. And we make sure to tell each other, we love you, and we're two like or three. He's a twin, right? Shout out my boys Jose and Pedro Moctezuma. I love them dudes, and I make sure to tell them every time we're off the phone that I love them. It may be corny as hell, right? You hear me in the store shopping, be like, "Hey, bro," he's like, "All right, have a good one. I love you." They're like, "Oh, yeah, he's showing a lot of love to his wife." Now I'm telling my fully tatted up grizzly best friend that I love him. But but yeah, it's always good just spread the love. Sorry to hear that again, Sam. You know, things get better in time. Grieving grieving takes a while. Grieving is I don't know, everyone takes differently. There's some that they use it as motivation to better their lives, and there's others who go the opposite route, right? They get so broken up, the grief just makes life unbearable, right? And they decide to not live how they once lived, right? In regard because of the person that gave them that motivation passed away. And I went through that. I'll give you a backstory. I lost the most important person in my life back in 2013. She actually passed on my brother's birthday, March 11th, 2013, and that's Mama Rivera. That's my mom. This is her in 2009. Her and I in 2009. Yes, guys, I was skinny at one point, and I had hair. But that's me with my mama on my brother's graduation party. Let me give you some backstory on this, right? So I had just gotten promoted to freshman year. My brother had just graduated, and we decided to do a dual celebration just because my mom had some complications. She was going through organ failure, kidney failure at that. Diabetes really took a toll on her. Well, during the celebration, um, my tia Mary, Maria Alvarez, she's an angel, truly an angel. She came out and said she had one. No, I'm jumping the gun. They were actually. This was a couple months later. It was during my mom and my dad's vow renewal ceremony, right? My mom's health had been declining, and she wasn't doing too good, right? So my dad's like, the both of them just made the decision, like, hey, if this is it, I want to let you know that I love you, and I'm gonna marry you one last time, right? And during the ceremony, when they were giving out the gifts, my aunt kind of came out and said, "Hey, I have a gift for you." And my mom was like, well, "What do you mean?" Like, yeah, you being here is just enough. Being here with the family is enough. This was how my mom was looking around that time. She was just very frail, and my aunt handed her this gift bag, and I still remember my mom reached into it, and it had a little statue or a little diagram looking ordeal, and it was the shape of a kidney. And my mom was like, okay. She's like, kind of like funny. I mean, I need a kidney, but I need a real one. Well, the announcement was my aunt decided she was gonna be the one. They matched up perfectly, and she was gonna give her her kidney via transplant. So it ended up going from I only have maybe a year or so to prolonging her life quite a bit. My mother bounced back. She got chunks once again. She would brag about it, saying, "Well, all my new Spurs shirts aren't gonna fit or whatever." But yeah, it was a good thing. My tia gave her life again, and man, if you could have seen her reaction. My mom thought we were at the end of the road, and she she was living again. Um, she how can I explain it? I mean, you kind of guess you kind of have to experience it, right? But she just felt reborn. I remember she would say this was her second chance at living, and it was great. Couple years down the road, though, she ended up. I guess the surgery and all that went well, but diabetes, man, it's one hell of a disease, right? She tried taking care of herself, but you know how it is. Once you get an infection via diabetes, it's kind of hard to kick because your body could only recover so much. Um, but yeah, she had I think she had cut on her toe, if I'm not mistaken. And from that, being that she was diabetic, it got infected, and from her one toe, it went to multiple toes. And before that, she was amputated right below the knee. And when I tell you that didn't stop her from living, man, she she got her wheelchair and whatnot. And any other person, had it been me, it would have like just I would have been I'm over it, you know. Once you take my leg, once this disease is killing me, then just I'm giving up. I wasn't as strong as she was. I don't think I would be as strong as she was. But the stuff I tell you, dude, like that wasn't stopping her. She was still out there, cooking up her meals in her wheelchair, and we would go out and about, and she'd still crack jokes. Like if y'all know me in person, I tend to be funny and sarcastic. I got that off from her. I remember we were shopping at Walmart, and she goes up to the associate. She's all like, "I'm gonna take these shoes, but can I get half off?" And they're like, "Well, half off? What's wrong with the shoe?" She says, "Nothing's wrong with the shoe. Something's wrong with me." She said, "I only need one of them. I don't want to pay the full price for both, you know." And the lady looked at her like, "What?" And my mom was like, "I'm just messing with. I'm just messing with you." She's like, you just have to enjoy life like that. Or she'd be coming down ramps, and always wanted to be the center of attention, so she'd be rolling down, and she'd yell out like "wee," just always trying to make light of the situation. That's the type of woman my mother was. She kept positive. She kept positive to the very end, and like everyone says, or from what we heard, she would have her private talks. Like it killed her. It broke her heart having to live like that, but we never saw that. As parents, you learn to live through your kids or for your kids, right? So even though she was in that situation, we never really saw her broken. Even during hospital visits and whatnot, we'd show up, and still she was still her old self, still cracking jokes, still getting after me because as a kid I didn't listen, and I still don't listen now, but I don't really have anyone to reprimand me like I once did. um it's like, yeah, exactly. He's like, shout out my boy Justin Moraes. He said she kept going for y'all, bro. So keep going for her, man. That's the plan. So we come down a couple of shout out my boy Matt Lerma. We went down the road, and her body just started shutting down slowly, and she fought her hardest. We really didn't know how severe anything was until the doctors told us that her organs or whatever were going bad, and she's still like she was living more at the hospital than she was at home. And that's when we started, you know, putting two and two together. She ended up passing my senior year. For the longest time, I lived with the regret for a bit. Well, not for a bit, for a long time actually. And that's where I'm gonna mix the two. So before she passed, that Monday, she was set to be released or sent home, discharged to be sent home, right? And I had just found out I got all my credits. I'm about to graduate because your boy was not a good fucking student. I'm telling y'all from the get go, I would not listen. I was always skipping school when it was possible, and so me and my boys had planned a celebration. And at the time, we partake in, I mean, of course, drinking, but we also did a lot of herb smoking, if you know what I mean. So that Friday night, I had talked to her on the phone, and like I said, she was starting to get like heavily medicated, just keep her body comfortable. She wasn't like in hospice or anything like that. Like I said, she was set to be discharged. So Friday, I have a conversation with her, and I'm going through our normal script, just saying, love you, mama. See you. I'll go and see you Monday, or I'm going with dad to go pick you up, or this or that, right? Or I'll just see you when I'm home. And then I get the text from my boys that they were throwing a party. So I'm like, all right, cool. I said, I guess I'm already planning in my head. All right, I'm not gonna go, or I'm second guessing. Well, anyways, in that same conversation I'm having with my mom, she's telling me she loves me, and she says, "Okay, I'll see you a ratito, like I'll see you in a bit, in a couple of days." And in that same conversation, she's like, "Hello." I'm like, "Oh, hey." She's like, "¿Quién eres?" Like, "Who is this?" And I was like, "What do you mean? It's your baby boy, right? It's just my brother and I. It's your baby boy. It's Eli." She's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Like, I don't no te conozco. I don't know who I'm talking to." And I was in my head, being that I was a kid, I was only 17 at the time. I got mad. I was like, I'm your son. I'm your baby boy. What do you mean? What do you mean you don't know who I am?" And I was kind of like, all right. And I was like, bueno, pues ahí te dejo. And she just apologized and just said, like, I'm sorry, I didn't know who it was. So being that I was a petty teenager though, right? So the next day my dad's like, hey, I'm off the weekend. We're gonna go stay in San Antonio, and then we'll bring her home. And I was like, well, he's like, do you want to go? And I'm like, well, also I had that party in mind, right? And I also like, I told him, and I remember this is what hurt my feelings. It's like I told him, I said, she didn't even recognize me on the phone. What's the point of going over there and her not even knowing who I am in person, right? I said, "Nombre si es Sina, she didn't know who I was. Why am I gonna waste my time going over there if I'm just a stranger to her?" That was my mindset, right? So get this, fellas. I'm drunk and off my mind on. Believe it's a Sunday. I mean, it's very blurry to me. Well, I get a call in the middle of the night, from my dad saying that her sugar had dropped dangerously low, and they had to resuscitate her once. Now, my reaction was literally like, "All right, like, okay, what do you want me to do?" Right? Like, I was like, "All right, well, let me know how it goes." I remember being my reaction to that. Like I would say, I was high off my mind and whatnot, and I was still mad. I didn't quite grasp the situation. I mean, when what had happened was before they had said they found her unresponsive a couple months prior, and it turned out she was just in a deep sleep. We showed up and she was like, "Hey, the whole family's here to visit me." So I thought it was another one of those situations, right? Well, I end up partying, whatever, and I get another phone call in the morning. It's like, "Hey, they had to resuscitate her twice. This is the second time. It's not looking good. Like you need to come up here." So he's like, "We're gonna go for you," and I'm like, "All right." And it's finally clicking. Like, "Oh, okay. Like, damn, this is more serious than I thought." And by the time I get in our van, in our caravan, we're driving that way, and they're telling me it's it. Like, she's been resuscitated 3 times, and right now she's just intubated, just long enough for you to go see your mom because she's basically brain dead at this point. That's when it all clicked. I'm like, none of this shit was worth it. I felt so bad, and so we get there, and I know my family's there, but I can't tell you who was there. I just blanked everything out. I just see it, and just like the machine pumping her up. Her blood pressure would go up, it would come down, and they're like, she's not gonna respond to you. She's basically just her body there, right? And so I'm kind of like just standing back, like I didn't expect the last sight of my mom to be like that. And yeah, I remember my dear Chris tells me to go be by her, go stand by her, and I grab her hand. And remember, guys, at this point they're telling me she's brain dead. I hold her hand, and her blood pressure shoots up. And they're like, "Oh, is she reacting?" Or it's like I like to tell myself that she knew I was there, right? And yeah, we had to make the call. She was on DNR. She did not want to be resuscitated, and we just lived with that. Like, do we respect their wishes? Like they said, basically, we're just prolonging this. That it's just her body or whatever there. So we made that tough decision to let her go, and within 15-20 minutes, y'all, that was it. And I was in shock. I don't remember crying. I don't remember crying at the funeral either. If anything, I mean, those who were there, y'all know I was still cracking jokes and whatnot. But the whole time, I couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. I felt so guilty because I had one last chance to see my mother. Even if she had passed in front of me, I would have at least been able to have that one conversation, or at least tell her I love you in person before then, and not just to someone that was on the machine, right? And that ate away with me, and that's why I want to tell y'all. Like, I know grief is different to everyone. I stopped living for a while. I just was going through the motions. Like I said, I couldn't cry, I couldn't react. It was just it's crazy. Sometimes it's like an instant reaction, and it wasn't until I went to go visit her gravesite maybe a couple months later, and I just I was actually doing a Spurs game. I remember, and I was like, "Hey," I was like, "Well, the team won, right?" I said, We didn't we didn't win the championship, but," he said, "Freaking Ray Allen hit that on us, and that was it, mama." He said, "It would have been the icing on the cake, would have gotten the championship this year, would have been for you." And it broke me. And, this was taken by my girlfriend at the time, and I couldn't really move from there for a good minute or two. I remember I was there for about maybe 10 minutes or so. I didn't wanna leave, like, everything I needed to tell her just came out. I apologized profusely saying, "I'm sorry, like, did you give up? Did you give up because you thought I gave up on you?" Or just a lot of emotions ran through my head. And like I said, keep in mind, I was 17. This happened maybe 3 months before said graduation. Um And it sucks, you see everyone around you celebrating and whatnot during, like, on the stadium, and then you look around and your person's not there. And that just stayed with me for a long time. And I mean, it wasn't just grief itself, it was like guilt overall, which I had no reason to be guilty, dog. I'm not made out of sugar. I was no reason for me to feel guilty. Being that she was diabetic, that really didn't have anything big to do with me. But yeah, I had a couple of vent sessions, and just it stayed with me over the years. And I remember April, my wife, talking. That was 2013. You're talking about 6 years later. I just had this all pent up. I met her, and she was just my coworker, and she was like, "Oh, you're funny, you're funny." And I was like, "Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm somewhat of a comedian, trying to spit my game and whatnot." And she ended up asking me out, and then she's like, "I know you never talk about your mom. Why is that?" And I was like, "No, it's a sensitive subject for me." And I kind of told her that I um I miss her, but I don't remember what it sounds like, y'all, and that what she sounds like. And that's probably the hardest thing. Like, now, it's like there's levels to grief. It's the initial loss, then it's the trying to find your way back. And then it's when your memories don't work how they once did. In y'all's dreams or whatever, you put a voice to them. Even in my dreams, I know the voice I hear isn't her voice. And then what kills me is that I don't remember what my mom sounds like. And that's what loss does to you. It confuses you, it breaks you down emotionally. Um, back to what I was saying with April, right? I told her, I was like, no, no, just a subject I don't want to get into. He's like, let's just talk about you and me, see what's gonna happen with us or whatever, right? And she turns to me all and she hits me with you don't have to be funny for me. I hope you know that. You don't have to be funny for me. Man, I'm getting choked up over here because ain't nobody give me that chance before. Yeah, it just came out. I started telling her, hey, this is what I'm going through, this is the guilt I feel, and that's just not a way to live. And I decided, from that point forward, she had goals set for me within my family, because y'all that know me, I'm the hothead. I casted myself as a black sheep of the family too, but that's more because of the aggression I had. um my aggression stemmed more for the hate I had on myself because I didn't have her you know but man, how's the host gonna pick the subject and be here all whiny about it? But nah, I decided to use that as fuel to live. I learned through a friend, her physical life ended, but her soul lives through you. So if you give up on life, you're taking away her second chance. And that's why your boy's here. I mean, before, I didn't care. If I woke up, I woke up. If not, then it is what it is, right? But I'm just happy to be here. Like, being here talking to y'all is like a blessing too. Doesn't matter if it's just 3 people on the other end of this camera. Like, if y'all need someone to talk to, y'all reach out because we all been through this shit. It doesn't necessarily have to be your mother, just a loss of a friend, even of a friend that became a stranger, right? it's crazy. Grieving, it doesn't just take them from you. It takes yourself from your own life. Like I said, I was one angry mother effer. Sorry, Rudy. I know I'm not supposed to be cussing out here, but it 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 changes you, and sometimes not for the better. Um, but I can honestly tell y'all now, on the flip side of things, I decided to change my life positively. And shout out to April. That's my rock. That's my everything. 'Cause she she's basically the person that my mama had dreamt of. Because if we all know who the fuck we were at, if y'all knew what I was chasing, I was on a highway to hell, like they say. But yeah, it's just a little insight on why I'm so emotional and angry at times. Because it still gets you, you know, a sound, a song, a sound, certain foods I can't eat because I remember her making it for us, and I'm a cook, so that tells you how that goes, right? But if y'all want to, you know, type in the name of someone y'all lost in the chat, you know, just show them some love and respect. I'll pull them up. We'll give them a quick moment of silence, you know, and thank you to everyone that's tuning in right now. You know, love you, George. George, you're my. I hate that you moved away, brother, because you're the big brother that I like chase. I mean, you know what I mean. Sending love, April everyone. Yeah, Anne Marie, thank you. Love you, brother. Hey, Sam. I appreciate it, bro. I had to take my glasses off. I was fogging up, getting all emotional. Hey, Leha, you said you were gonna tell me something if I started crying on here. I'm still waiting for you to type it out, brother. I'll pull it up on screen. But yeah, yeah, Jacob, exactly, bro. It sucks sitting front row. So that happened with my mother. I was in the room also when my grandfather passed away. You know, Jose M. Garcia, I mean Garcia Rivera, and just recently the loss of my grandpa Henry. You know, I saw him just a couple of hours before he passed away. But it's not like now I view life differently, you know. I see, especially when it's in circumstances like that where they're just suffering. I mean, it's like they say, you know, they're ready to go. Like, they don't give up. They just know what's waiting for them on the other side. And that's something I've learned. You know, my faith in God isn't. I'm not a avid churchgoer, but I do believe of something on the other side of a higher power, right? That's the reason why I'm here. Is the reason why, you know, when I wanted to end it, I didn't. You know, stuff like that. And I believe Angel April was an angel sent from heaven, right? For just for me. But you know, and April and I, Elaine and I, we suffered loss too. I mean, we didn't know she had miscarried the year that we had gotten married. We didn't find out till the day after. Bad enough that we had to sit through that bad Star Wars sequel, you know, the second one in that garbage trilogy. You know, we found out the next day that her pains weren't just random pains, that she had been pregnant and she was miscarrying, and all I had never even thought about being a parent until that point, and just that hurt me and kind of put us in a dark cloud for a bit. It was kind of you know, it could have made us or break us because it's like it was unexpected, but it also you know, you realize that you had a big blessing just taken away from you. And I don't mean that taking a shot at anyone. It just, you know, these things happen. So you know, we decided we weren't gonna dwell too much on that situation, and we'll just we didn't really know what was going on until it was going on. So let's keep it going. Hey, I'm your rock. I'm with you. I'm with you forever. You know, it's don't think we're going through this alone. Well, we were we were going out and whatnot, and I'm taking a shower, and she goes, "Oh man, my body's so sore." If you're a girl, female, you know what they mean when they say, "Oh, my body's so sore." And then I'm over here. I was like, you know what? I was like, she can't be pregnant. And I was like, I'm so fat I can't even. I don't have the stamina to make a baby. you know, this is a stupid shit like that I was going through my head. And then she was like, nah. She's like, it's probably just I'm probably just getting the flu. I'm getting sick. He's like, well, y'all, this was the flu. um, we found out we were pregnant, and we took all the precautions, and made sure she wasn't stressing, not even with work. I told her if you got to leave that shit and leave that shit. It's not even worth it. She said, but we're gonna be parents, so we're gonna do everything the right way. But you guys know what that entails. The right way means be on here. Like if it gives you heartburn, don't eat it. If you want tuna, you're not gonna have that. Don't don't do anything that's gonna put us at risk. Well, even that came hard, right? A while. Well, let me just show y'all this picture real quick. It's a onesie from my tia Lupita, my mama Lupita. It says handpicked from my grandma in heaven, and it was Miha's first onesie. We're like, dang, he's like, we're really gonna do this. It's getting closer. Her due date was December 15th, actually. So we were like, oh, okay, well, let's start getting everything ready. You got to that prior week. You start going for your checkups. You start going every Tuesday or whatever. And we went, and they tell her, hey, your levels are high. Like you're experiencing preeclampsia. You need to have this baby because you're not gonna have her naturally. And I know it's crazy. I'm putting this info out there, but just the water was never gonna break or and all that. So they said you have to make a decision. Do you want to have this baby today or schedule a C-section within the next 3 days or whatever, right? We both looked at her like, damn, I thought we were gonna be able to at least celebrate our wedding anniversary one last time before before this kid gets here. But y'all, we made the decision to have her the following day, which was the ninth. And when I tell you I'd never seen something so perfect before. Check that out. That's our baby girl, Penelope Ann. When I tell you all the feelings I felt beforehand, the guilt, the loss of life, for the first time I felt love from my mom in a whole different way. I remember I looked up and I was like, "You did this, huh?" And I was like, "You really had to give me a reason not to leave here, huh?" And I said, "Well, thank you." I said, "Cause I promise you, I'm gonna love this little girl like the way you showed me, the way you taught me." And when I tell y'all that little girl's like, she's my best friend. Well, right now she's like my bratty teenager, and she's only 3, y'all. So it's all worthwhile. We had her during COVID was happening, right? That's her first picture. Me got the N95. Look, this is I'll tell you. If this doesn't tell you how bad my kid is, sometimes this is the biggest picture. Look, I had hair here, fellas. This was before I lost everything due to stress, not just the stress of having a newborn, just stuff that came with it. My wife had some complications, so for the first month and a half or so, she kind of had to guide me verbally on how to take care of her because my wife wasn't able to carry her and really do anything physical because she had a pretty bad infection that almost could have taken her from me too. So just a blessing that we got through all that, and now we're here together raising this little goblin. It says, let me get you some of these comments, give me some time to chill out a bit. It says, all love, little bro, all seeing carnal, my grandma about to enter hospice, but I've been ready. She's lived a great life and she needs to rest. That's so see, cabrón. She's sitting in the front, hits differently, that's for sure. It says, Maddie says, I learned the hard way that holding grudges isn't worth it because you never know when something may happen. Me and my best friend weren't on good terms when he passed away. It killed me for years. Man, I get you 100%, Matt. And the fact of the matter is, the grudge I had was more with myself than it was to her because, that woman could never hate me. And just something I had to learn to live with. Um, my mother-in-law passed away and was in the hospital for 2 weeks. She had to be sedated. She had real bad pneumonia. She was just released this week and is back home now. Man, says I tend to be private about those type of things, but my boy Mike did send his prayers for me and my family, and it was much appreciated. My our thoughts and prayers are with you too, Joe. If you ever need to reach out and just talk about things, I think I have somewhat of a grasp of this, of you know what we're going through now. But yeah, I just wanted to tell y'all there's light at the end of the tunnel, especially when I want to touch on us from death being one thing looking back negatively, right? Well, it also helps you appreciate the little stuff in life or the big stuff like becoming a parent. I look at this picture here, y'all, and this is my motivation. Look at that. I've never had anyone look at me with so much love, with so much admiration. But little does she knows that's how I feel about her. That little girl saved me. She saved us. There's one thing when you say, save, I couldn't say she saved the marriage. Not so much. We're having marital problems, but after the loss of the first one, my wife and I were like, this probably is never gonna happen. Well, she's our rainbow baby. Mm, it's just a blessing to have her. It's just a blessing to have been able to experience being a parent. At one time I wanted to leave here, and now I'm trying to figure out how to prolong my life and stay here long enough to see my kid grow, to see my grandbabies. Um, so yeah, I mean, on one side, you think the world's ending, and then something like this happens, and it flips the whole script. And you all that are parents know what I'm talking about. It's like I can't leave now. I gotta see who this cabrona's gonna end up with, or who this little boy better not end up with some hussy, or I gotta see them go to school because I can't read worth a damn, but I'm gonna make sure she goes to school, knowing damn well every morning, Pedro, Jose, if y'all are listening, we were at that taco shop right across the high school, skipping first, second period. Man, we used to bribe our teachers with bacon, egg, and cheese tacos. Be like, don't call our parents. We got you some, we got y'all some bribe tacos if you know what I mean. But you just want to make your life better for them. I live for my mom, and I want to live now for myself. That way I'm able to experience all these things with Penelope, my lucky penny. Yeah, that's where the logo of the coin flip comes from. That's penny being thrown. That's my lucky penny. It doesn't matter what side it ends up on, as long as I know that's her that's her. Is my inspiration. That's more than worthwhile. But yeah, just thank y'all for listening in today. The subjects aren't always going to be this heavy. I just wanted to give y'all some insight on the stuff that make and break me and make me the guy that you all know. Um, like I said, Sith was cool, but he's not Elias. Y'all back home, that's not Eli. Just want y'all to get a little insight on your boy. But let me get to this because this is my tia Nelly, beautiful, so wonderful person. So it's my one regret is I never recorded my dad's voice. I can't remember what he sounds like. I miss him every day. I touched on that the other. I tell them that the levels of grief are pretty. You don't ever recuperate 100%. You just learn to live with the loss, and that's those that have experienced loss recently, loss of a parent or whatever. That's the advice I could tell you. It's okay to not be okay. That's the advice you hear all the time. You'll be okay. You'll be okay. No, fact of the matter is, you're never gonna be that okay. You're just gonna be okay with how you're living now. But keep those memories with you. Like I was telling them, Tia, in my dreams, mom has a voice. I know it's not what she sounds like, and that's what eats me up. But I can't remember what she sounds like. But I just know that at the end of the road, when it's my time to go, I know, I know I'll be hearing her call my name to help her cross, or I'll be hearing her trying to bribe, the person at the gate. Please let him in. He wasn't that bad of a person, you know. That's my baby boy. He's got to be up here with me. Like you got to let him in, please. Just do me this one solid. So now, but all jokes aside, it's been real, everyone. I love you, each and every one of y'all, and I hope y'all tune into the next episode. I'm gonna try to drop these once, maybe twice a week, different subjects at hand. Eventually, we'll cover movies and we'll either have some wrestling talk, some sports talk, stuff like that. But I just wanted to get down to the nitty gritty because I feel like we need to we need to talk beyond that. We need a place for people to vent. Mental health matters, y'all. So if you have my number, if you don't have my number, go ahead and shoot me a message on any social media, and I'll send that to you. You could text me, call me whenever. Um, but yeah, this has been the coin flip. And once again, want to give a thank you to our sponsors, MCS General Contracting, Chunky Flamingo, and shout out to my boys over at Grading the Market and Sweep the League. I'll catch y'all next time, y'all. God bless.